Göl sözleri. Welcome back to another episode of Special Series at New Ink with gtalks. You're now tuning into Dublab. Special Series gtalks at New Ink brings together the diasporic approach of gtalks radio and the experimental ethos of New Ink, the first museum-led incubator for art, design, and technology founded by the New Museum in 2014. Each episode is a peek into the practice of storytellers through different mediums, curating advice, visibility, and entrepreneurship. Between conversations, featured guests share playlists of their most played recent tunes as a sonic backdrop to their creative process. The show is now recorded live at New Ink office, reimagined as a vessel for dissecting the intersectionality of art, design, and technology through individual conversations. And today, I have brought in Secret Riso Club to join us for conversations. SRC is an artist-run space that fosters a creative practice at the intersection of art, design, learning, publishing, printing, activism, and community building. In their practice, they work to build a platform that serves as a collaborative space for developing ideas and new projects. So say hi to the collaborators. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Tara Ridgedell, so one half of the duo that's running Secret Riso Club at the moment.
My name is Gonzalo, Guerrero. I'm the co-founder of Secret Riso Club.
Okay. Woo. Okay, we're getting relaxed. Kind of diving into SRC, Secret Riso Club. What is the Secret Riso Club to you?
Yeah, so Secret Riso Club, it's sometimes hard to define because we're a lot of different things. We do a lot of different things, and I think sometimes we fight against being able to fully define ourselves. But essentially, it's a place that at the heart of it is independent publishing. That's our ethos, and really just giving space and time for people, including ourselves, to produce printed media, printed matter, books, get their ideas out in the world without necessarily being a part of the gate-kept world of traditional publishing, and really giving people tools and space to do that and supporting it.
Yeah, Secret Riso for me start as a space to experiment with my artistic practice, my design practice. Always dream with doing something different in terms of far away from the commercial design aspect. So yeah, how Tara says, having a labels is always hard. Since the beginning, we didn't consider ourselves a publisher necessarily, going to art book fairs
Or a press.
or press necessarily. We're a design studio, but we're doing books and scenes and print, so we always we were careful with not putting a label and leaving kind of space for shape this, in a different way. And yeah,
and it continues to evolve.
Yeah.
For sure.
Also, when you ask that, it's what is for us? It's also a space for connecting with people. It's like that cliche saying of books are bridges. It's very true because it's for us, we publish books to make friends, And over these 8 years, we have built this beautiful community of friends that they do also publish books, and they have different practices, and yeah, it's connecting with people. It's a
Yeah.
space to connect with people.
Friends as collaborators, as co-publishers.
How did you come together to decide to collaborate and create this space, this community?
Yeah, it was a very organic process. So we met in 2015? 2015? Shortly after we had both moved to New York. So myself from Atlanta, Gonzalo from Santiago, Chile. And we met through like DIY Space, Silent Barn. And yeah, we painted trash cans together. And we really, ever since we met, we really hung out like almost every day. When you just click with somebody, you click with them. And so Gonzalo started Secret Riso Club out of his home and kind of based on an exhibition that he was given space to do at Pioneer Works. And so just from being friends and personally being a person who loves to do things and work with their hands and make things, we just kind of started working together. And that kind of became more formal over time, but really it is something that we are constantly like trying to keep in mind and working on, is that like our friendship needs to be protected in this and not let it be like let a business relationship take over, or also just, you know, it can be stressful running a space, and not that we always get this right, but trying to make sure that we're not just taking out that stress on each other because we are close collaborators. That is constant work.
Yeah,
100%.
and it's been, like a lot of like trust, a lot of like trusting in each other and complementing. Like we both like have different skills that complement very well, in how we work, and over time, like it was like how Tara said, it was very natural, that collaboration, like sometimes a lot of like our collaborations in publishing is like talking about an idea, and then I do like the graphic part, like the more visual, non-linear narrative, and Tara contributes with like making sense of that in a more like writing way, And then from that comes as a result like a publication or like a print or a series of print. That's like the starting point for then like a programming or something else. But yeah, and it's like non-linear. It's always like very messy from like a network of like doing like many things at the same time.
Yeah, we both just have a lot of ideas all the time, which obviously many creatives do. And yeah, I think we just work as hard as we can to make those things happen, experiment, change, learn from failings, learn from mistakes, and keep going.
And having a lot of conversation like about what is success for us means, and what we see this project, where this project goes, in the future. Not necessarily like planning, but just like being sure that we are aligned with the same values and like having the same world view, or like the world that we want to build with this. I think like a lot of like what we are doing is experimenting just to create a space that we would love to, as a reflection of like what would our dream world will be, especially in these times that's like so crazy, fucked up, everywhere.
Design style-wise, why is risographs important for the Secret Riso Club?
Risograph, like, it was like the starting point of like the studio, and I moved from to New York in 2014, and I worked 2 years in like commercial design, and then I had this opportunity from Pioneer Works that was like doing a small exhibition using their Riso Studio design lab, and that was my introduction, and it was like mind-blowing, because it was like the perfect tool for produce your own. It's like it gives you freedom to produce your own material, your own, explore kind of personal work that is not necessarily commercial, but it's more connected to expression. And communicated ideas that are, like what the whole scene culture is, and self-publishing. So,
Yeah. And Riso, is very much a metaphor in many ways. We always say, Riso is the process of letting go. It's, your prints in Riso will not be perfect. There's no way to get, or you have to, redefine what is a good Riso print. And it's a process of experimentation. We often design or work on the computer and send the files to the Riso that way. But there's no way for you to see, while you can try to mock things up on the screen, because Riso is using such different inks than traditional printing, you don't really know what it's going to turn out like, which is really beautiful. It's also a good cross between something that is analog and something that is mechanized. It is a mechanical process, it's automated, but you have to be there the whole time, looking and paying attention. And I think that's another good metaphor to especially how we move in the digital world. Things may be happening automatically, but if you're not paying attention, it's going to veer off course and do something you don't want it to do.
100%.
Also, in the practical way, it's it's a duplicator. So it's the cost is cheaper than other printing methods. So allowed us to produce books faster and in a lower cost, at least our books, because they are smaller editions. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I visited the space, I think, a couple months back. It was my first time to be in a super risographic focus space. Well, not that. And I feel because it's so community focused as well, the process of it all kind of reflects in the toolkit as well, because it's such an embodiment of movement with risograph as well, just from my experience from school and whatnot. But we talked about gatekeeping, and we're not trying to gatekeep over here. So why is there a secret in the Secret Riso Club names?
Easy answer.
Easy answer. It's not that secret, but it was because I started the studio in my house for 2-3 years, and I didn't publish the address anywhere. So I keep it secret for a long time, and
While still having public workshops.
yeah, I was running printing for people, doing workshops individual workshops private and medium groups up to I don't know 12 people.
15.
We bring a Tara's class of teenagers coming, and it was kind of funny because it was my living room.
I was teaching at a high school at the time, and I was I guess we're going to go on a field trip to my friend's house. Nobody asked.
But yeah, sometimes I had, for workshops, I had people, hey, I think I'm outside, and they were in a park. So I put in Google Maps a generic address.
Ridgewood.
A zip code or something.
Yeah.
So people were calling me outside of a park. Yeah. And I had to say, sorry, that's the wrong address. So.
But full disclaimer, it's not secret. We do get people who are wait, can I tell people about this? And we're yes, please do. Just a fun name now.
Yeah. Music also plays a role with SRC, because when I visit a space, again, vibe was on, music was on. So how does sound play a role in your practice, whether it's community building? We also have this mixtape segment on the website with different playlists. For both of you.
I think music is a big part of me personally. I make music. I don't call myself a musician, but I make music.
You are a musician.
Yeah, but I never went to school for music. But I make music. I
a
play
musician.
Instruments since I was a teenager, and I play in bands in Brooklyn until the pandemic, touring and everything. DIY
Your
spaces.
own bands.
My own bands, yeah.
That's clever.
Still make music with my partner, and
There may or may not be a great song of theirs on the mixtape.
yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
but yeah, like because of that, like all music has always been there, and always music in the space. And yeah, with this section in particular, we start inviting friends to or collaborators to make a playlist for us for like when we work or like yeah.
No, that's
Studio
amazing.
playlist, and it's
Yeah.
very fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't put much effort lately, but I think we're gonna keep.
It's coming back.
It's coming back.
Okay.
And also, like, when we first became friends, too, like, at that time in our life that we were just going to shows, like, every night, and, like, also, like, very much, like, DIY spaces are so related to music and just that ethos of, like, a small band is independently publishing their music. It's like just getting what you want to get out there. It's very much like the ethos of Secret Riso Club and the ethos of like DIY bands and music.
Yeah, we met in Silent Bar, and we were like, I was volunteering at the time, like doing like internal design stuff, flyers and stuff. Play a few times there, and yeah, it was like always like back in Chile, we don't have that concept of like DIY spaces like here. They're like more collective, punk venues, they're like very inclusive. So when I came here, like that blew my mind, and like the whole ethos and like the culture around that. It was like very amazing, and that was like how I met a lot of people. Like coming here, I knew nobody. So that's how I make friends, So it was like very important, and yeah, that space closed in 2018, and a lot of the people involved now is like now doing art-related stuff, or like running events or music projects that we are all still like connect to. And just to go back to the music thing, now we are like doing this collaboration with two editors producing this music paper called Gunk. That's a monthly DIY music paper that comes from the show paper tradition. That was like a printed pamphlet during the 2000s, 2010s that listed all the DIY shows in New York City.
Yeah, so we had seen these, the editor, Cece and Hannah, did it for about, 6, 7, 8 months? They were, like, printing at home on their, like, laser printer, just like a one-sheet thing, and
I found it in a coffee shop.
Yeah, we've seen them at coffee shops,
amazing.
and Gonzalo was like, this is so good that we have to contact them. So it's been really good to work with them, and Gonzalo's doing all the design for it. We're doing all the printing, and then we've been able to work together, and they're like, Cece and Hannah are putting more content in there, like interviews, and it's also just kind of cool to see all this stuff that's happening in New York, like in this one small realm, but all put together on a physical paper. Is really
The tagline is like Gunk is a tribe and community, but it's all like a collaborative effort from like the editing part, the collection of like all the information, the contributions for like articles and interviews, and then the production part. Also, there is a team that distribute and like
folds it, puts it in order. Yeah, all the things, staples.
It's pretty amazing, and it's all funded by donations.
Oh wow!
So there is a Substack online, and then the printing aspect, and we print like about 1,000 copies a month.
Oh wow!
And it's like since we start collaborating, it has so much people is like really loving it, and feels very I don't know the word, but yeah, it's like having so much support and like enthusiasm. Enthusiasm.
Yeah, I think like the ethos of SRC, you could definitely see it in every single relationship that you build from different collaborators, just from like me doing research as well, but kind of going to the core of partnership and collaboration. How is navigating partnership like as co-collaborators?
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's like dedicated work, I think. We have learned over and over again not to assume from each other. I think the one thing that we have that Gonzalo said was like the trust. I don't ever like trust or don't ever question Gonzalo's like motives or, you know, I think we very much have like a shared set of values. And that's never questioned, which is really nice. But as far as like not assuming is really like checking in with each other, and just because you're seeing someone, you know, 18 hours a day doesn't mean that you know everything that's going on in their head, you know. So carving out time and space also to just be friends. Sunday we're taking the day off and we're like, we need to see nature. So we're gonna go on just a tiny little road trip upstate to see some nature and just not talk about Secret Riso Club. Mm-hmm. Although I'm sure we will because we're passionate about it. But yeah, to just be friends. You have anything to say about our partnership?
No, I think you say very well. Yeah, I think it's just like as a constant, a constant reminder of like checking in, you know. Yeah, and not assuming things. I think like the value part, we are very aligned, and when things comes to us, projects or opportunities, we always consult with each other, like what you think about this. And we really respect, like, if there is like a disagree or like there is a gut thing of like, I'm not sure about this. I will say like 90% of the time that gut thing, it is correct feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, yeah, I think like that's the most, I'm very grateful about that because it's the hardest thing to find in a collaborator, you know?
100%. Which is why I was super curious about how y'all met, you know, which we talked about earlier as well. When it comes to building the core of SRC, this passion that you have towards the what would you say? It's more than just an organization. I feel like it's, like you said, it's
project.
Such a dynamic, project.
Right.
Let's say project. Yeah. How does SRC actively build accessibility and resources through community building, especially with physical spaces in Brooklyn and having collaborations with sometimes across like international communities as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's something that it comes pretty naturally to us, but we're trying to like put it more into words. So essentially it kind of boils down to just like sharing resources, whether that's like knowledge and like just building relationships, without always needing to have like a purpose either. Like not every relationship needs to be built with like some outcome in mind. Definitely like going to art book fairs and traveling has been a big part of like building that international community. And like hosting people when they come, talking to people. Last year we did like a fair right before New York Art Book Fair because we had a bunch of folks coming from other countries who were like, it would be so cool to have another place to sell work to be able to like pay for my trip. So we were like, okay, let's put together a small fair for folks to have like another chance. So just having those conversations. I think we are at an interesting moment with this space that we've been in for almost 10 months now. It's really amazing to have space to be able to share. And so we're navigating though, like, you know, paid things that are in the space and like being able to open up our doors for free to different people. So really trying to like figure out what is our needs too and honor our own needs. And then once we have those covered, or, you know, while we're having those covered, being able to offer space for other folks. So we're also started just a volunteer program, which is a really cool way to open up the space to have projects kind of take place in our space that aren't necessarily related to our work either. Sorry, you were going to say something?
Yeah, complementing what you were saying, it's just like thinking, it's like a balance, you know? It's a balance of like, we have like in our whole our practices, like the different things that we do is like an imperfect balance of like the income that we get that allows to like make things that are important for to us, and yeah, while we cover like all the costs of like operating, also we have this space for invite people to do like things for free or sometimes open the space without charging. And yeah, we have both, you know. So we have paid events that allow us to like continue the work. It's like a cycle. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, other ways we try to make it accessible are just like neither one of us comes from a traditional like art background. And so, I mean, myself personally have felt very, you go into like a white box gallery and you feel like, oh my God, am I allowed to be here?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to buy this $7,000 painting. Am I even allowed to walk in? So just trying to make the space feel really welcoming and feel like a divergence from what is traditionally seen as like art spaces. Even in the program we try to offer like a wide range of like, this is just a beginner, like come and like play, just have a space for creative time to like, we're really helping you build your skill set so you can like go out and do other things. So trying to offer just like a wide range of that stuff. And even with our book selection in the bookstore too, having like $10 zines up to like more expensive books, but on a range of topics so that people can like enter at any different, point.
We talked about dynamics and balancing this ecosystem of SRC. How do you find yourself, I guess, play a role when building so many different ideas? Let's say a studio, bookstore, exhibition space, publishing, printing, design, the list going on and on and on. I think I'm just more so curious, how do you navigate that, and how does your personal toolkits come together?
I think like the evolution of like the project, how like have grown over time. It was kind of like natural that we start like doing all these things, and every year like we changed to a new studio that was bigger and allowed us to have more people or start like doing more printing for client or like more books, you know. So again, it's like that balance of like jumping from one thing to the other. I'm personally, I work, that's like my working flow. I kind of do like I work on a bunch of projects at the same time. So that was kind of natural, like, and also like there was some ambition there to like, and like the needs of like, I want to do this, you know, we want to do this. So, I like, and now we are like, after 8 years now and like moving to a more public space, bigger space, kind of like expand everything, right? So now we are in like a very, I will say like,
Crossroads.
yeah, crossroad, like pivotal point
Yeah.
of the project, because we are, for a long time, it's like me and Tara doing all these things, you know. But now it's like we can't do all the things. So that's when we.
It's a lesson we're constantly
Exactly.
learning.
Also, like since like we started like being part of New Ink, like, and we're having all these conversations and resources that I put into words what we were doing, but not thinking. So now it's like, I think we need help, you know? So that's like when we started like growing the team and like hiring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also, like Gonzalo said earlier, it's very much an imperfect balance. We absolutely do not have a formula of like, on Mondays we do programming, Tuesdays we do that. I think we're slowly starting to realize that, you know, like Gonzalo said, we are kind of people who will jump around, explore an idea through a lot of different ways as well. Like, you know, we might take an idea and do programming with it and do a publication with it and make T-shirts about it, or, you know, work on collaborations with people, all as ways of exploring like a certain idea. And so that kind of works for us. But yeah, it has definitely been a process of learning, of trying to put in systems, and still very much learning this, putting in systems that work for us and the way our brains work, of trying to like find balance in that, and giving ourselves grace. You know, email is not like our greatest strength. Just being like, it is okay that we didn't answer that email within 24 hours. For sure.
Nothing
100%.
is urgent. That's my...
Nothing
is urgent.
Yeah. There's a lot of different small projects, open calls that SRC has put out in the past. And I think, for me at least, from an outside of the community or appreciation towards the community, there's a lot of like call for action or different archival work with specific communities. And that kind of leads up to the question, how does activism play a role at SRC?
I think that one of like the things we love most about printed material and being able to have the resources to print is that you can respond to like urgent needs, and we have the means to do so. We don't need to go like source paper. Like we have all that at our disposal, just by nature of what we've built. And so, you know, we definitely believe in print as a way to like get information out into the world, like outside of, you know, surveilled channels, and really just like passing information around can really spread in different ways. And so it's very much like, something we try to use as much as possible, offer as a resource to other activist groups, people who need printing to like disseminate information that way. And also, being able to use, we just did like a micro grant, where our micro grant like chosen projects they're all like developing their work now. So we were able to offer a small stipend to 5 projects to create like a politically urgent zine publication. And so then we'll cover like all production and work with folks to develop that. So it was really exciting, even just like reading through all the proposals, and tremendously
got
hard
about
to
like
choose.
300 proposals. It was crazy. And amazing projects.
And also just spoke to like the urgency and the need for like people to get ideas out there. Like people are doing the work.
How has building this community in New York City been? I know we kind of touch upon like New Ink, having conversations with different people, doesn't matter the outcome and whatnot, but do you have any advice when building a network that is an artist-run space, especially sustaining, you know, the organization and the practice as well?
Yeah, I think like I always think about like making this work in New York, you know? Like, because coming from Chile, I don't think I will be able to do this project in Chile or in any other country that, doesn't support like cultural work. And I think like New York has like a special ecosystem that allows to like financially maintain this project. And like
the sheer volume of people here.
Yeah, exactly, sheer volume. So I've been like doing this project like full time for the whole time, and Tara joined like a few years.
Doing it full time,
So I think like I don't think it will be possible to do Secret Riso in the same way in another city. As a like
Yeah, and obviously like anybody who lives here, it's like a love-hate relationship, right? It's a hard city in many ways to live in. It's expensive, and sometimes you're like, can I just have a tree? Like, just give me a tree. But New York is full of people who are just like doing things. And I think it forces you to do things 100%. I think about like, if I had stayed in Atlanta, I think my life would look so different, you know? And also people in New York like want to go to things and like are very enthusiastic and like, and it blows my mind all the time where I'm like, wow, people like really do things. It's raining, people are still doing things. It's snowing, people are still coming out to events. And it's really lovely. But I think the biggest thing that we have made purposeful is to really like, you know, fight against the tendency to just like want to stay inside or not talk to people or just, you know, going to fairs and being part of them. We're really purposeful in like chatting with people, like bringing them in. It can be an awkward experience to be tabling at a fair. You literally have a table between you, and it can be loud and whatnot. And so, but really like being like, hi, let me tell you about this book we made. Like, who are you? And like really like having that exchange, even when it pushes us past our comfort zone as well. Like, I don't think either one of us would claim to be extroverts by any means.
No, but we really put an effort on like making those connections and like being more like open and empathic with the people. Also, like in the same community, like going to if there is time, like going to the tables and say introduce yourself when we don't know the people. Just a gesture of like humanity and sharing a space, you know. I'm always super hyper aware of like personal like interactions in these spaces.
Well, actually, the exhibition we were talking about at Pioneer Works, it was called Primary Interactions, and it was about, like, you had been here, what, a year
it was like
at that time?
my experience in like as an immigrant in my first 2 years, like with all these like interactions in like the public and private spaces, like how people connect with you, like all these microaggressions and cultural shock, and so it was interesting experience for me. But so I still like I'm super aware, and sometimes like when things happen, I'm very sensitive to this, like miscommunications, and also like because English is not my first language, so it's always like I'm insecure of like what was said or what this person meant, and trying to be super aware of like those.
And there's so many times too where he'll be like, wait, what was that? And I'm like, no, it's nothing to do with language. Like, that was just a strange interaction. Or, like, I didn't understand what they were saying at all either. You know, like...
But
that can be hard to know the difference.
Yeah, I don't know, like, building these networks and, like, these spaces, like art spaces, it's a lot of, like, acknowledging other people as a human. Primarily, and like building safe spaces, and after that it's like the more practical stuff, you know, the artistic practice. But I think it's very important, at least for us, it's like first like meet somebody and like get the vibe and see that how we talk together, you know, how we interact,
and I guess also like not avoiding conflict, or I think that's been something we've been learning, of just like kind of, not that we're trying to get into conflict, but I think it's very much shied away from. And if you don't have any conflict or you can't talk about things out in the open, then that's when things fester and like people make assumptions. And you know, when we are now kind of in this space, like being like a public facing space, you know, trying to like avoid any of that, or not avoid it, but like confront it. Like if you have something, you know, if you want to hold us accountable, like please come and talk to us, and don't just like, I don't know, leave a Google review, or, you know, like let's have conversations and be humans. Like we are humans. We're not going to get things right all the time either.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think with digital media too, the accessibility of boundaries could be very different. And I think sometimes it could bring intimacy, which is why I have like a show where I interview people, and a lot of people could access it through different sound waves. But then when it's but it also comes with the fact that it's some Google review, you know,
Right.
which I
Yeah.
I think SRC is having a physical space as well might also welcome that type of comment. I didn't even think about that.
We had a long discussion when we got the physical space. We were like, do we actually want to be on Google Maps?
Yeah. Also, like, that's interesting question. Like, going back to like original questions, like the I don't know, when people ask for advice, it's like how to make this. I don't know. It's like there's a lot of like reaching out and like not be afraid of like connecting with people. If like also like when you start a space, it's like starting like your closer circle of friends, you know, that are doing cool stuff. As a collective is necessary, you know, with the people that has like similar values or like similar ways to work or complementary ways to work. That can be a contribution for the goals, you know, like what you want to do is like the goals are like the expectations are like what is gonna drive the way how you do things, you know. Yeah.
Will SRC ever hold workshops about building an organization?
Interesting.
Just a thought.
I think, you know, it's been interesting. Like, we had some folks do like a how to apply to zine fairs panel, and there's, I don't know, it's like some people are like, oh, just tell us the answers, you know, like tell me how to do this, and it's like nobody knows. Like, have you ever gone to a panel where someone's like, let me tell you exactly what to do, and you can copy and paste this formula, and you'll have your road to success? Like, that's a surefire way not to trust someone. So
I think it's like also like it's like a multiple steps thing and a non-linear structure, you know. How it's like also like it's like it requires time to build all these different aspects of like what an organization or a collective or a studio can be, you know. You start with like a logo, an Instagram account, I don't know, a statement or like a manifesto or whatever you want, you know. But then it takes times and like making one thing at a time always was my thing, you know, like
but you do 12 things at a time.
but like it builds from little things, you know. And then also there is a thing of like the perception of in the outside world of like for us we get a lot of like we are like a massive organization.
Like, can I speak to a member of your customer service team?
Yes.
And it's
me.
We are like like a small team now, you know. 2 people run this, but like, yes, it's like it's a lot of work, and there's not an answer. There's like many ways to do it, and
I think the answer is just trying. When we signed the lease for the space that we're in now, was a 5-year lease. We did it like, I think one of the biggest conversations between the two of us was like, we both need to be okay with this failing also, or this taking a completely different form. Like, if we go into this with this super tight vision of what it's going to look like and what will make us successful and what it has to be, then we felt it wasn't the right move for us. But if we felt good about doing it with this kind of shared understanding like that, this could turn out totally differently.
yeah, and maybe like in 3 years we're gonna move out and it didn't work, and that's okay. You know, we can keep doing the same in different ways.
And we have that clause in our lease.
No, that was great advice.
Also, sorry, I was saying also like in a city like New York, like that we depend so much in rent, you know.
Yeah.
That's like a heavy weight in your heads for everybody. You know? And the working group earlier that we had, it was like the same conversation: time, space, money to do your work, to produce work that matters to you and others.
Yeah.
Kind of gearing away from understanding the SRC community, what it's about, how can someone get involved? Through volunteer programs, workshops? Can anyone hold a workshop?
Great question. So we currently have a membership program, which is also a way for people like to help support our work and like be sustaining funders. But there's a few different levels of membership, so it's ways for people to access the space who want to use it for printing, ways for people to access the space if they want to take a bunch of workshops or just support. And then with the membership, we're also doing like regular like member mixers and just a way to kind of like build a smaller community a little bit stronger. Also, this volunteer program that I mentioned, we have 5 working groups in the volunteer program. We have a cohort of about, I think, 100 people throughout those 5 working groups. And that cohort will run until June. It's a 3-month cohort. And so we're really trying to like get started with this initial group of volunteers, see kind of what forms and what takes place before we like bring in even more volunteers. And yeah, our workshops are open to anybody. You don't need to be like a member to join. And we'd love for you to host a workshop. Do it.
We are always open for like proposals. Yeah.
Yeah, we're one of the goals of one of our volunteer working groups is like they're kind of the programming group, and we're working on like creating out like a community programming slot. So for like people who want to propose a workshop who it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with like publishing or anything like that, but providing that space for people to hold other kinds of workshops, whether it's like a journaling or someone asked to do like a henna workshop and, just like, again, because we do have space, like allowing it to be a community space for people to share their different things. And then our regular programming is we always run like intro to Riso classes, and we're building out a progression of like for folks who want to learn to use the Riso independently and like become someone who's using that as a part of their practice. And then we regularly bring in artists, maybe someone who's traveling in the past month. Yeah, we just had a publisher from Lyon, France come do a workshop. A organization called Girls and Queers to the Front from Poland do a workshop last weekend. This weekend we have an artist and creative director from Berlin coming to do a workshop. So it's kind of cool to have those workshops come in where it's people kind of more talking about their practice and then sharing like a way for people to kind of experiment and play in that vein.
To wrap it up, the interview as well with the last question, what is next for SRC that you're excited about?
Yeah, we should mention Demo. We're going to be presenting at Demo, New Ink. We'll have a showcase. We'll be giving a talk on the main stage. What else, Gigi?
Yeah, like the summer program. We're excited to put it out soon. Yeah, and we will be going to Mexico City to participate in our book fair that Can Press, or friends are putting together.
Low-key might be doing some sort of upstate retreat, sort of residency program. Yeah, some things in the works.
Nature. On time.
For us and, our community.
Exciting. I guess, because we kind of talked about what you learned through collaborating and building this community. I guess I would just end it with the what is next for SRC question. But last but not least, any outro? I could do it first.
Yeah, you do it first.
Thank you so much for joining me today at gtalks Radio, at New Ink, and really excited for what's next for the community. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. Join us at Secret Riso Club on Instagram. Come to our workshops. Please come shop our bookstore full of amazing independent publishers, support their work, and come join us.
Woohoo! Any outro? No. Well, we're done.
I just got my period.